Hello friends. Welcome to my new JPA, Hibernate programming tutorial series video. In this series, we will discuss about how JPA and Hibernate helps us to achieve persistence in a Java application. Let's move ahead. Today, we will discuss how to create, store, save, persist a Java entity object in Hibernate using JPA. Friends, in my previous tutorials we discussed how to create persistence.xml file. We also created an entity by name person. In this tutorial, I will refer the person entity and will save instances of it in database using JPA with Hibernate. Let's move ahead and create a test class in Java having main method. In order to save, persist an entity, let's discuss the code point by point. Number 1. Create two different instances of person entity. Here, person entity has a property as person name. Let's assign different person name values to each of the person entity instances. Here, I have provided values as person 1 and person 2. Moving ahead. Number 2, in order to persist instances of person entity in database, we need entity manager. This entity manager can be obtained by entity manager factory. Using Java x.persistence class we create entity manager factory. Persistence class has static method create entity manager factory. This method has a parameter which takes in name of persistence unit defined in persistence.xml. After calling persistence class static method, create entity manager factory, by passing persistence unit name as person pu it creates entity manager factory for us. Moving ahead. Number 3, from entity manager factory object, we create an instance of entity manager. In order to create entity manager we call a method present in entity manager factory as create entity manager. This method returns us back an instance of entity manager. Moving ahead. Number 4, in order to save, persist person entity, we have to create entity transaction object. Here, entity manager is responsible for beginning and committing transaction. It has a method getTransaction, which returns an instance of entity transaction. In order to begin a transaction call entity transaction method as begin. Moving ahead. Number 5, entity manager class has a method by name persist. This method is responsible for saving, storing person instances into database. Here, we have created two instances of person entity, so we call entity manager's persist method twice to save person entity. Moving ahead. Number 6, calling entity transaction method as commit, to commit saving of person entity into database. Moving ahead. Number 7, if any runtime exception occurs, we first check whether current transaction is active or not. Entity transaction has a method by name is active. If the method returns true, we have to roll back the transaction, by calling entity transaction method as rollback. Finally, we throw that runtime exception to JVM to handle. Moving ahead. After running the test class successfully, let's move to database and see whether there is any table created by name person. Execute a select query on the person table. It displays two records as shown in the figure. The two records have values as person 1 and person 2. So friends, this is how we can save, persist an entity in Hibernate using JPA, Java Persistence API. So friends, go through this video 2 to 3 times so that, saving an entity in Hibernate using JPA, Java Persistence API, concept gets more clear to you. Hope you like this video. Please give 1 minute to like, share, comment or subscribe my channel, or you can visit my website at www.hubberspot.com.